the ultimate DevOps, right? Containerizing your thought process.
The problem is that no container can keep up with the speed. Welcome to Hacking Business Technology. We have made it here.
It's not called Docker. It's called Thoughtger or something.
Thocker?
Thocker. Meet the Thocker.
Oh, that would be a really funny episode. If we had a beeper button, that would be really funny. We did that a couple times in the last show. Do you remember that?
I did, yeah.
I think someone dropped the F-bomb. I think it was a guest, if I remember correctly, dropping the F-bomb, and we had to, because at that point we were still clean.
Yes. Was it Kote? Who was it?
No, it wasn't. It was Sam.
Oh, from Good Data.
Good Data. Thank you.
Yes. Bivin.
So I invited our entire audience today, which makes things really interesting. At first, I didn't think that Hooper was going to be able to make it because he hadn't responded quickly on Slack. And quickly to me, apparently, means
had a date
3 seconds or less.
Like at 2:47, who's in today?
But we're at now, baby.
What's up, Sean?
Hey, Sean McClellan.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good. You're not sharing video. You can't share us video of your corporate offices?
You forget I'm remote.
Oh, okay. Yes, your corporate office.
That means he still hasn't gotten dressed yet. Remote workers actually don't get dressed until like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So
Ish. Maybe. You can see I'm working in my home office. I have doors now to provide like a little bit of backdrop. So,
nice.
Yeah.
I'm actually working from the new Hooper residence, which is this new complex I'm living in.
Sweet.
Very exciting.
Wait, that looks a lot like a hotel. Are you sure you're not at a hotel?
I'm not at a hotel. I just feel like I'm living at a hotel.
You bought a complex? Oh man, this has to be part of the after show. We can't include this in the key show up. Stay tuned for more.
Yes.
So I actually had someone come up to me yesterday at the Minnesota ServiceNow user group and say, "I love your podcast, Hacking Business Technology."
Isn't that awesome when that happens?
Nice.
I actually can't go anywhere where people don't rush up to me.
It's because you wear these cotton white T-shirts and you've got huge muscles, Cooper.
I'm out of the wife beater shirts.
Oh no, we don't call them that. They're cotton A-line T-shirts.
Oh, spouse abusal shirts.
No, neither of those things. Neither of those things are healthy for us. Cotton A-line T-shirts. A-line. That's what it's called.
Nice.
So the reason that I brought that up specifically is because I have a question for you, Hooper, and I'm going to put you on the spot here, but I want to do it live. Are you willing and ready to record a new episode of ITSM Weekly with Chris Dancy?
Of course I am.
Okay, let's do it.
I thrive on the opportunity.
Okay, we're going to try it. We'll try it. I don't know when or how because he's hard to. He's a really busy person.
He's a really busy guy. You know, he's famous now.
Yeah. So, okay, we're going to try and throw that together. If you've got questions for Chris or the stuff that you want to talk about on that episode, send us a note, hosts@hackbiztech.com. And other news, another conference this week. I already mentioned ServiceNow, so I feel obliged to mention some other brands as well. Cherwell had their Global User Conference.
Yeah.
Yep. And apparently they weren't feeling the love. There wasn't a lot of Twitter stream activity. I don't know if you paid attention to the CGC15 tag on Twitter, but there was hardly anything except for our friend and savior, Mr. Gerard Green.
You know, Gerard really, I think, is probably the only social person in kind of that ecosphere. You know, I mean, I love Malcolm Fry. I mean, he's the best, and he's great. But he's just not super social. He's not a big Twitter guy.
Hyper-connected. For him, a fast response on Slack is overnight. Right?
I think bi-monthly would be. Yeah, you know, he's an IRL. He's an in real life guy, and no, it was interesting. You know, and Craig Hopper's a dynamic guy. It would have been nice to kind of hear that and see that. So, you know, props to ServiceNow at their Knowledge Conference for doing some live streaming. you know, and having the cube engaged. Those are some good things. And like you mentioned, the snugs. You know, so there's a model that, in fact, I told the Landesk team to go chase that. I said, listen, you know, don't try to reinvent this. Just, you know, do a service now. Steal it from somebody.
Yeah, dude, it's a lot easier. The thing is, everyone knows that community is one of the most important parts of being a product. The hard part is building it and maintaining it.
Yes, absolutely. And you know, and it's true too, even in the sales process, because I'm engaged now in product sales, which is kind of fun. I like it, actually. No, it's interesting. Because, you know, people keep asking what's different between the tools, and I make the salespeople shiver when I say, not much. But it really does come down to community. And I tell you, every CIO is looking at their ITSM initiative and saying, this is a journey. Where's your ecosystem? What's your community look like? Like, you know, what's the group of users and where are they located? So that's what it's all about. And again, ServiceNow, great job. Snugs, having all those things active and live, and bringing prospecting customers to it. It's smart stuff.
Yeah. What's tough is it's always tough to guide those people. I love being vendor agnostic. If you can find a vendor agnostic company to work for, do it fast. There's way less risk involved. But I really like, yesterday someone came up from a furniture manufacturer that's based in Minnesota here. You've probably guessed it already. But they only have 850 people. And, you know, he had a compelling problem. The cost of running Trackit, which if you haven't heard of Trackit, there's a reason you've never heard of it. It's like 30 years old. It's older than I am. That's not true. I'm 33.
Hey, man, you're hurting me a lot, man.
But his cost of operating it is what blew me out of the water. I had no idea how little it would cost. It was only $4,000 a year to operate this thing, and you know, it doesn't have a lot of fancy features. It doesn't have discovery or even a decent CI repository. There's so much inflexibility, and you can't customize it. There's so much wrong with it. But then you look at how much it's going to cost to implement something else, and you quickly hit that number, 4,000. Like after 1 or 2 uses of basically any product on the market, that's a SaaS solution. The thing is like you talk to those people and you want to provide good wisdom, but it's really hard because we're at this precipice now where it's almost cheaper to build it yourself than it is to buy something out of box. And in a lot of cases, I think people overestimate the value of a lot of feature sets. Something like, I always talk about ITIL versus Lean and DevOps, and I think when we look at IT and what they're providing with these service management solutions, the key foundations are service requests, so request fulfillment, because you know you just need that. Of course, we know that. The CMDB, because no other part of the business really does that. I'm just sure there's service mapping tools. You know, certainly portfolio tools have this sort of thing. Where you categorize different things, but it's very unique to IT, the CMDB specifically. And then, you know, the rest of it, really, it's all just sort of niche. Project and portfolio management, IT finance management. There's all these other little features that sort of either distract or add to the value in some cases. There's sort of like these edge cases that you can find other tools for, but then it becomes a question of whether you want to or not. And so, you know, an 850-person company, I'm not talking 850 IT shop, 850-person company, I can't provide them good advice on what tool to select without a lot more questions. Just understanding what their business process is like, what their IT processes are already like, And then it becomes a question of, do I need to build it or buy it? And I think that's the part that scares me, is that people may go down the build out. And I've seen that route. It's just not pretty. You end up having to buy something eventually. Access. Please don't send us back to the days of Access, please.
Anybody who builds an ITSM solution, don't ask me why there's two of me here, maybe because one of me wasn't enough. But anybody who builds an ITSM solution these days is just begging to be outsourced. You're just begging for it, because it's like, really, because where is ITSM going? ITSM is not going back to queue management. It's not going back to ticketing and control and traceability around tickets. It's going forward. It's all about agility, and that means integration to your current state of your assets, current state of your business services, event management, correlation, supplier management, project portfolio management. It's moving forward. So if you build your own ITSM solution, in 9 months to a year, you're going to be completely irrelevant. You would have wasted precious IT resources in doing exactly the wrong thing. And I'm not saying that in any way whatsoever, because I'm working for a product company now. I've always felt this way. It's just stupid, right? Because you want leverageability, and the product company gives you that leverage. I mean, pick any product company. I'm not going to talk about mine. I'll talk about Sharewell. How did Sharewell get where they are? They got a lot of customers, and they started listening to them and saying, well, what do you want? And they said, well, we want a easy-to-configure form and workflow engine. And so they designed it in .NET, and they created it so that you could drag and drop and create fields, and they're going out there and they're pushing it, right? And then what do you get from that? You get the learned experience from all these different customers. If you build it yourself, then you're building in a vacuum. You're building something that's going to be something you have to own and isolate, and you not have any leverage whatsoever.
Start with user research. And I think, like, when you talk about ITSM programs, it's harder and harder to sell the value of a $1.5 million program anymore. Why not sell the value of a $10,000 program that lasts 8 weeks, 16 weeks, 32 sprints or so, or 8 sprints or so, and then see if you're getting value, and then try again. Because the cost, the opportunity cost and the return on investment and the total cost of ownership is something that you can evaluate in small chunks when you've got a great solution that is SaaS offered and you can make it there. So then the question about what do I do first isn't doing process, well, maybe it is process, yes, business process, but then also, like, start laying the foundation to understand the data that's going into this system so that it can be designed in such a way that your switching costs are less, and then you can hold people like these two vendors accountable against each other. Boom!
You know what it is?
Just beg the platform discussion all over again and bring us right back to where, I'm going, oh, dude, you didn't want to suck me in this. I'm supposed to be quietly watching and picking up and listening. But I mean, this is the crux of having a platform, right? That you can build on it, and you don't have to start with ITSM. I mean, that's the new argument. Like, to me, it's almost more interesting not to start with ITSM, because you go to ITSM and we've got a huge, long, who are we going to get rid of, and we're going to take 24 months to go through processes and all of that stuff. So why not something new on a platform that already exists? And there's a story there I could reiterate, but I think y'all are already familiar with it from various knowledge conferences and the like.
But it goes back to the thing that I say, Sean, is you don't start doing ITSM, you already are doing ITSM. Right?
Yeah.
It's like people say, well, we want to do ITSM. It's like, really? You're not fixing incidents? You're not doing
we were talking specifically about investing in ITSM, which is a different story altogether.
But that argument, and so I literally just got off a call with an insurance company who was saying to me, I did some consulting before I joined Landesk, and I shortlisted a couple.
And they're angry. They want their money back.
Maybe they might, but but what they were saying to me is, what you laid out for us is good, but we're struggling to sell it to management. and they said, the ticketing systems are so expensive. I said, stop right there. That's your first issue. You are selling a ticketing system. You are selling ITSM. Stop doing that. Go back to them and say, really, would you deliver services for insurance without a system? Would you not give people a policy number? Would you not give them a binding number? Would you not give them a quoting number? Would you not validate claims against a policy that they have to benefit?
No, we wouldn't do any of that.
We would never do that.
On paper.
Yeah, you're going to email your underwriter without a binding quote number? Seriously? You would never do that. Anybody in insurance would say that's absolutely ludicrous. You'll go out of business. So why is it that in IT we have to suck it up and say, oh, we don't have to know how work comes in. We don't have to know who asks us to do what. We don't have to know how it gets done. We just have to, jump to every whim that comes in without any type of prioritization, understanding, or technical debt awareness that we have in our infrastructure.
That's why you've got to start understanding. You have to sell it on the results. What are the results?
The results.
And it's really easy, my opinion, I think anyway, to once you get to those results, whether it be terrible metrics like mean time to resolution, and it just kills me to even say it out loud, or first line resolution, like you start looking at some of those metrics. As long as you understand what the objectives are, you can tie those terrible metrics to dollars, and those sell.
But tie those back to what does the business want? Well, the business wants their systems back up and running. And hey, listen, stuff breaks. That's life. Systems fail. That's life. Hey, it's going to happen. So where are we enabled to restore that service as quickly as possible?
And which systems can't ever go down, and how you design for them?
There's no such thing as a system never going down. And that's always the reality of it. But if it does go down, are we fully equipped with the right skill sets? Are we fully equipped with the right people, suppliers, monitoring? That's the thing, right? Is are we mitigating risk and optimizing costs? And that's what people want from IT. But more so, are we providing new functionality? And every time an IT person is focused on sustainability and operations, they're not focused on innovation. And that's why ITIL's dead.
I think you can design systems to not go down, just a great performance. Scale horizontally. Amazon is a perfect use case for this. If you go to Amazon's status page, they show you statistically how many times they've been down, and it's not very often.
But it still has gone down, right? So it is.
But when it does, right? Don't you just switch over? Don't you just go somewhere else?
No doubt. But that's risk mitigation, right? That's where do we overinvest in a certain particular area to optimize that opportunity for availability. Mr. Palmalis, thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon, guys.
It comes down to, Baron, is this, right? If we don't understand how work comes into IT, we don't understand how work gets done in IT, we have no ability to redirect ourselves. And if we focus strictly on command and control, we'll never be in a position to optimize our opportunities for leveraging the resources we have. We'll never be able to mitigate risk. We'll never be able to educate the business on what the real opportunities are by leveraging technology to gain more market share. And that's the value as a business partner, right? And I say, idle is dead. Yeah, idle is dead in a lot of ways. It's helpful information. It's helpful nomenclature. But being a service provider and focusing yourself as a service provider is a dead-end job. If you want to be a service provider, you want to just be a service operator, go work for a managed service provider. Because ultimately, that's where all IT jobs are going.
Yeah, you have to. And for everyone else that doesn't want to do that, learn to code.
Or make lattes and go work for Starbucks. It really just depends.
Be creative.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be IT as usual. And anybody who's thinking that they're going to be able to just sit back and say, hey, listen, it's about process, it's about analytics, it's about metrics. All that is vitally important, but that is not what's going to move a business forward.
Now, we don't want to scare anyone here, and that's not necessarily a scary concept for any of our listeners because it's not news to them.
No, they saw my 2012 presentation on IT is dead.
Yeah, exactly. This stuff doesn't happen overnight. We're not talking 2 to 6 months. We're talking. I can't even fathom the amount of politics and like self-interest we have to wade through before we can get to that point, which defines every enterprise program I've ever been a part of. Huh!
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you guys still beating the ITIL is dead horse? I mean, it's dead. It's been there for about 2 weeks. I'm sorry, I just got here, but hey.
No, we're not. We're not talking about that. You know what? We're just trying to figure out where does ITSM live in the future? And I think that's where a lot of people in our shoes are. We've all come to this age, whether it be 14 years old or 3 years old or whatever, where we have determined that there are certain things that just waste our time. And we all, as attention capitalists, will say, know that we need to focus specifically on things that are going to be valuable and valuable in the future. And I think it's really tough to say where that's going, and so we just gesticulate on this podcast. Hacking business technology.
But you know what, Matt? I think you put your finger on the attention component, and I think that's the part that's the most interesting. We could talk tools and processes and technologies and platforms are all great. And following any one of those processes, the reason we keep talking about whether ITIL's dead or alive or not is it's not whether the process gets revamped. We could revamp it 1,000 times and put miles of automation. And we're talking about the business component and the numbers and the reports behind it. But on the other side of that business is the customer, and the customers really need something that really doesn't metric very well, which is that thing that you just touched, attention. I don't want you to tell me where you are on the ticket. I don't want you to tell me all the stuff you got to do. I want you to tell me that you're giving me your attention to fix and I don't, IT is home. It's not business stuff only. Right. Man, how many of you have ever gotten a flight? How many of you have ever gone to a doctor? How many of you have done any of those things? Then you really dealt with IT process. And man, tell me you've never been frustrated by being on hold or filling out. I went for an MRI the other day, and I filled out my name, no lie, 27 times on 27 different pieces of paper. I didn't care what forms they were filling out. I wanted someone to turn around and talk to me. So we talk about lattes, or we talk about being the person that makes lattes or being a service person. It's being able to step over the process at some points and finding that line.
Couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. In Fusion, I'm speaking actually on engaging versus service. If you continue to call yourself a service provider and focus on how to providing better services, you are making yourself an irrelevant cog in the wheel. It's about engaging, right? You got to be engaging. You want to engage to understand.
Yeah, I just did an article about this. I threw it on LinkedIn, and I felt horrible saying it, but I said I do child labor. I'm going to put my kids on hold to do long calls for me. So when I call customer service, I'm going to pay them a nickel to sit on for me for that reason.
There you go.
The process has gotten so long and so out of whack that really it costs me, my time and my attention are worth money. It costs me less. I'm on the phone for 35 minutes just to figure out where I'm getting for some service that I'm quote unquote paying for. It's that engagement piece that you're talking about, Matt, that I think we're all interested in.
Now, if we could just set that up with some inexpensive resources, let's say adults that sound like men and women, I think we've actually got a pretty good idea for a new company, a startup.
Mechanical Turk?
Yeah, let us sit on hold for you, We'll get you through the system to a person, and then we'll connect you when we're done. Or we can fake voices.
I'm going to pin my article. I'll send you guys the LinkedIn for it because
I've seen it already. I read the whole thing.
Oh, no. Okay. But tell me,
dude, the picture is what sells you on LinkedIn. Whenever you're writing on LinkedIn, make sure there's a picture, because the picture of your two kids sitting there, like fuddling around at the computer, really.
I stole that from you. Well, I stole the idea of putting a picture in from reading your posts. But
you always need something.
Can we train? I guess to me, the thing that's always super interesting is there's a part that's absolutely automatable, metricable, reportable. What's the part that's not? Like
user research.
Accountability. The human.
Is that it?
Yes, think about it. If you, let's say that you're an upstart at this clinic that you're at, this health company that you're at, and you see this happen. You literally see this happen. If you're forward-thinking, agile, like a process person, an efficiency person, just wired, an engineer, wired to just kill that thing, just kill it! Ah! Then you would go to that nurse and you would say, look at this. Sean just had to write his name 27 times. And you have to, like, escalate that. Someone has to escalate that. If it's not you, Sean, as an angry customer, it's got to be someone inside the system, possibly. That'd be my guess anyway. But if you do user research, even if you start simple things like just survey questions, I know surveys suck. If you get 2% of responses and they say I had to put my name out there 27 times, and then you change it to be once, everyone will fill out that survey every time because they love suggesting efficiency process. Hire!
Yes, no one likes doing stupid things. Yet we do stupid things all the time.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. And that's
sometimes.
Sorry.
I was going to say that sometimes as technologists we are afraid to go out and talk to them. You know, we're just like, okay, I'll kind of figure it out, and they're over there, you know, and if I need them, they'll come. Hopefully, eventually, maybe, and it doesn't work that way.
But that's why the underpinning of DevOps and its success has nothing to do with agile. It has nothing to do with automation. It has nothing to do with culture. The one thing that makes DevOps successful, feedback loops. DevOps is focused on the immediate reaction to customer demands, true customer demands. And I'm not talking about internal colleagues. I'm talking about the end customer, Netflix people who are watching videos. Are they getting the video streamed? Are they having issues? It pops up.
Right.
Do you have an issue right now? Yes, I do. Boom, right back to the DevOps person who just made a change and says, oh, I screwed something up. Right. Feedback loops are imperative, and that's the only way that we're ever going to move the envelope forward.
And that's how you hack business technology. Thank you for joining us this week. We'll see you all next week.
Thank you, guys, for joining us. Yes, absolutely.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody.
Woo!